Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today you join me out bream fishing on Hurst Shingle bank. The conditions look absolutely perfect. We're in the middle of that heat wave now. I wanted to go stingray fishing, but the weed in the Solent at the moment is just unforgivable. So I thought, I got a day off work today. It's a nice Friday, lovely warm day. So I thought I'd nip down to Hurst Shingle bank and try for a nice bream, hound, gurnard, anything really. But mainly going to be targeting bream, and we can go through the rigs and that today. Surprisingly enough, I know it's a weekday, but there's only one gentleman just a little bit further down from me. But then, other than that, I'm on the beach on my own. The water's crystal clear. Hopefully the weed is not going to be a bit of a pain. But as we spoke about, it's a smallish tide and I'm fishing the ebb, which I always like to fish here. Like we'll talk through the best times and that, which I've done in my previous videos when I fished here. But yeah, it's fantastic. Hopefully you can get into some bream, some variance among the species today, and then have a quite an enjoyable morning, because it is absolutely lovely. Absolutely lovely. But what I'll do is normally I'll quickly run you through the rods I'm going to be using now and the reels, save me coming back to you. So I'm going to be using my Exxon Plasma, and that's going to be fishing my as normal 30 to 40 to 50 yards out, and that's just coupled up with the Virtuosa egg beater. Nice and light fishing, 15 pound main line, and it's got 60 pound tapered shock leader. You don't have to cast massive distances here really. If you do, sometimes you can catch too much of the tide and you're away. So I've got my Cobra Mark GT2, and that's going to be coupled up with my casting special 20 pound blaze, 80 pound tapered shock leader, and I probably might fish a crab and that on there, or a whole squid, to see what I can winkle out on the bigger one, and then this one will be scratching around for the bream. So that's the setup and all the equipment I'm going to be using. What I'll do next is then, once I've got set up and got two baits in the water, we can run through the rigs, baiting up as usual, and then hopefully we can get into some fish for you on this lovely, lovely day. So all we need now is the fish to turn up to cap it all off.
As the sun slowly crept into the sky, it filled the morning air with warmth and life. Sounds of birds in harmony, and you there right next to me. Oh, no matter where we go, oh, my heart is yours to hold. Through all the storms, I'm by your side. Through days of warmth, I'm
This is my first cast out now, and the tide is just starting to push, and it looks like I got an indication. I've been flying the drone around and that, and I was at the indication. There's a fish on here. I'm hoping it's going to be a bream. There's a good couple of pulls on it. The tide is just starting to push through now, so I'm hoping the fish will come on. There's definitely a bite on here. Nope. Shame. Bottom hooks. The bottom hook's all been taken, but that's a good indication. That's my first cast out now. The tide is just starting to ebb, and then I had to fish this straight away. I was flying the drone around and that. And then I looked up and my rod was just bouncing in the stand. but it might have been a small bream, but that's good indication. I'm going to get another rig clipped on now and get it back out there, and then hopefully now when the ebb starts pushing the tides through, the fish come on the feed. Yeah, it's a shame about that. The tide now is just starting to push through now, so I thought it might have been a small bream or something that was attacking the bait, but it took the bottom up. So the next rig, I popped that rig back out now, so the next rig I'm going to do is 3 foot snuds. It's a glued rig again. As it comes off, I got there, and I got 3 foot then of seaguar fluorocarbon, and it comes down to a little white pop-up and a tiny slither then of squid. The next one comes down another 3 foot snud fluorocarbon again, and I got a little orange pop-up there with a tiny slither of squid. And then obviously that comes down then, and I've got because the tide's starting to push through now, I've gone to a 5 ounce showcast bomb lead. And then my bottom hook, I'm going to be targeting gurnard here. And I find gurnard, believe it or not, especially on a boat, like pink, on a spinner blade. So what I've gone for here is a couple of pink beads, a little spinner blade and a silver one trapped there, and I whipped on a bit of ragworm. So that's my next cast going to go out now. The tide is, when you come down to Hurst fishing, which we'll talk about in a bit now, on the ebb, once you get that slack tide, and once it starts ebbing, you have a quick push of water for about, I say about half hour, 40 minutes. It could go through quick, but it does generally slow down after that then. So I'm in the middle of that push through now, so I'm not really going to be fishing hard. I've got rigs in the water, but they are going down with the tide. I have got roll leads on at the moment, so I'm just trundling through at a nice speed. When the tide does pick up a little bit, I'll put a grip lead on the one I'm casting out about 80 yards, and I'll stick to a rolling lead then on the one I'm fishing closer in. Yeah, that's that now. What I'll do is, once I bring my the distance rod out, I'll show you the rig and that, but that's just the up and over pulley rig I'm using, and I got size 2s on there, and I'm going to put a bit of crab on the bottom and worm tipped off with a bit of squid on there, and see if we can winkle out a little bit further. Hopefully you can pick up a smooth hound or something like that out a bit further. Yeah, fantastic day. A few more people are... Oh, I picked a bit of weed up on my bigger rod and I panicked then. I could hear my drag going. So I'm going to go and sort that out now. I can see it. I picked up a clump of weed. But yeah, like I spoke about my ratchet going. Yeah, a few more people have turned up now. And hopefully all of us can get into some bream and that this evening. Yeah, I've been getting a little indication on here. Yeah, fish on here. I don't think it's anything big. There's probably a fish and about 4 ton of weed. It's just hard work battling through this, let me tell you. Yeah, if it keeps on, I might have to do a part 2. Yeah, if it carries on, I might have to do a part 2. Because it's madness. I don't mind manning up but it's just unfishable. I just need to get that bream. Let me right. Oh. 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 Right, I've got a monumental amount of weed here, but I think there's a bream at the back of it. Right, I'm gonna have to get that weed off and run down, but there's definitely a fish at the back of it. Give me 2 seconds. Oh, you just see me winding that in. Brilliant, target achieved. Little black bream. The weed has been a right issue. It has. One stage it was unfishable, so I just brought the rods in, had a drink, phoned the wife, and then I could see the weed has slowed down a bit. And I put that out then and it trotted through lovely. Not the biggest bream, but target achieved. A little black bream. I get him marked now off my Tronics Pro species hunt and get the little fella back in, and hopefully now we can fish a little bit better, because the weed has been really bad. I've been watching the gentlemen fishing down there, and I just stopped for about half hour, 20 minutes I did, but I was watching the gentleman down there just bringing tons of it in. So I'll get this little fella marked off now and then back into the water. I hope this comes out now. I'll try and pan it on the water. This is madness. I just cast this out and it's been out there 5 minutes. My rod was bent right over. Look how much weed is on here. There must be about 15 foot of weed in here. And this is the issue sometimes when you fish Hurst. That is madness. I'll try and do it now. I have to walk backwards. See if you can see it out there. There's my line going down. I'll try and get it now. Here it comes. I hope you can see it. There's about 15 foot of just thick weed on there. That is just mental. And you know, when people say they have weed, there's nothing like the Solent weed when it's in. That's been out there, I'd say 7 minutes. I was just baiting the other rod up. I don't know if I'm going to get this in, but I just wanted to show you. That's better view, I think. Look at that. That is just mental. When it pushes through from Hurst, it proper comes through. Jesus, Thomas. That's mental. I can't see me getting this back in, but I just wanted to show you how much weed is on there. And that's the issue I'm having. I know I had that bream, but this is just madness. How much weed is on there. Oh. Oh. That's what you call a blanket of weed. Oh. Right. I'm going to try and get this in now. It's like bloody skate fishing in Scotland. I'm going to work my hardest to get that in, but as you can see what I'm battling against at the moment is that there must be about 20 foot of weed on there, thick weed as well. So I'm going to keep on plodding on with this and I'll get back to you in a bit. Oh. Well, I managed to get all that off here, but look at this. I may have to call this. I'm trying my best, but this is madness. Look at that. Oh. That is just absolute madness. You gotta love the Solent. This is alright mission. It's all old deadline and everything in it. I don't know what that is. I got somebody else's lead looking at. That's carnage, man. Oh, Jesus, Thomas. Well, I'm going to get that mess sorted because there's even more there. There's deadline and everything here. But I'm going to give it another half hour. But I may have to put 2 videos into one because this is just madness. Absolute madness. But the joys of fishing in the Solent, I'll get that sorted. We'll give it another half hour and we'll see what happens. But yeah, this is crazy fishing at the moment. Absolutely crazy. That was a right mission, that was. Oh, it took me about 20 minutes to get all that weed off. I think it was about 20 foot of it. There was a rig in there, old dead rig, which obviously they've been fishing for bream. There was pop-ups on there and a 6-ounce lead weight, so I managed to sort that out. Got all the line from all of everything, but yeah, that was a right ordeal. So I'm going to give it another hour and we'll see how it goes. It should, like I said, that you have that push the tide and the weed comes through it, so it should die off. And then a gentleman just walked past, Chris, lovely to meet you. He watches the channel. He just walked past and he said, Jesus, laughing about the amount of weed I had in front of me, and I said, yeah, it's pretty bad at the moment. But Chris said it should die off within about an hour, he said, because he fished it the other night. And he's got some of his friends coming here, so I'm going to battle through it. I've got 2 rods out at the moment, but what I've done is I've put my rods as high as possible in the rod stand, just to try and keep as much line out of the water as possible. And I might change to the float pop-up for the bream rig. So that will keep it all suspended, because it looks like it's all going through the bottom. It's bedweed which is going through. It's not suspended in the water at all, it's just all going along the seabed, so I can see if I can battle through that. yeah, that was the right mission, that was. Absolute right mission. So I'm going to keep going now, and I'm going to battle through the weed. I might even just drop down to 1 rod, but I've got 2 out at the moment. But I'll battle through it with 1 rod, and then see if it dies, and I can switch back to 2 rods. But yeah, gutted, man. I had that little bream, I thought, oh great, and then that weed just came through monumentally. Gutted, man, because it's a perfect day. There's a few more anglers turned up again now, and there's a lot of beach goers, obviously because of this heat wave. I think it's 30 degrees at the moment, so it's lovely. Be nice if the fish come. I can only fish till 3:30 today, because me and the family are going out for a meal this evening in the New Forest. So a little bit gutted, to tell you the truth, but we'll give it a good go now. Hopefully now I can fish the baits. I think if I can fish the baits correctly, I'll pick up the bream, and the weed leaves me alone, and hopefully we can pick up a smooth one or something as well. But yeah, mission and a half. Yeah, I just swapped over rigs, and you can see there's a bream on there. I just put on that foam pop-up rig just to keep the line off the water, and we'll show it to you when you come in. You've seen me using it before. Sorry I got my back to you, but I was quickly baiting up, and it went ripping off. Oh, I missed it. Oh, nightmare. Have you seen that? That was a proper bream bite, that was. And it's taken that one, nightmare. But as you can see, what I've done is, because of the weed was thrafting through, you see me using this before, I'm making it in the house, a little foam pop up there. So what it's doing is then, because the weed is going along the bottom, it's suspending my hooks up in the air. And I was out there, first cast out with that was then, and then there was a bream on there straight away. So I can't believe I missed it. You can see it's taking the middle hook. So what I'll do is I'll get this baited up and back out there, and we can have a look at this rig here. Fantastic rig. If you look back at my videos, I've used it down on Chesil Beach, and I've also showed you making it at home. With a little pop up there, and then it suspends all the bait in the water. And what that's doing is then, because the weed is going along the bottom, it's suspending my hooks above the weed. So that was a good little ploy, that was. So I get this baited out and back out there, and hopefully we can get a bream this time. I hope you can see it. I'm trying to get the camera out ready. As you can see, there's a bream. I just cast that one out now in slack line straight away, and there's a bream on there. I just wound that in, and I cast it out with the foam pop-up. I was just about to show you how I've done it. I looked up and this was bouncing in the stand. So hopefully now the weed has died off, and it's given us a chance to get into him, but this is definitely a bream. Yep. Just cast that out and it's taking the pop up, look. Right. Yeah, I was just talking to you about the foam pop up rig, except on my next rig. I'm in the right predicament here. Yeah, I just cast that out, hit the bottom, and I was just about to talk you through then the pop-up rig with the foam ball in there. I looked up and the rod was bent over, but that's on the little pop-up here, top hook. So that's, you can see the bream, it looks like now we're feeding up in the water. And it looks like Chris up there is into a bream as well. Yeah, he's got a bream as well. So that's good. Hopefully now the bream are coming on. So I'll get this little fella back now. And hopefully we can get a bigger one. Oh, that's pretty good then. I missed the bream, then I had a bream. That was pretty good now. But both of the breams have come up in the air, so the changing to that rig was pretty good. If you haven't seen it before, and this is one of my probably the most popular rig which we sell in Showcast. So what you got is there, you've got a float which is suspended between 2 stoppers like that. If you look back on my YouTube channel, I show you how to make it. That comes down to a 3-way bead, And then coming off there, I've got 10-pound fluorocarbon, and it comes down to a foam soft pop-up, and it comes then down to a little size 6 hook. And then 3 foot down from there, I've got another 3 foot fluorocarbon, yet again on a 4-way bead, and then the foam. The foam is really good. You always talk to me about it, because when a fish bites it, it doesn't feel anything hard. And then at the bottom then, I've got coming off, I've got a 5-ounce short cast lead there, the pyramid one, and then 10-pound fluorocarbon coming off. Then I've got a size 6 wormer hook there with a little bit of tubing for attraction. So what that allows you to do, you cast it out. You don't cast it miles, you know, you're fishing between your 30 and 40 inwards. And what you do is you cast it out, let it hit the bottom, and then keep your rod nice and high and leave a bow in it. So what that does then, it allows the rig to sit vertical in the water column, and it's suspended by the big pop-up. And then it just leaves your hooks in off the bottom. Very good if there's spider crab around, because you can keep all your hooks off the bottom and it saves you losing your snuds. Very versatile rig. I first seen it when we were fishing in years ago in Italy, and the Italians were using them in the competition to great effect. I've got a nibble on there now. Yeah, really, really good. And like always, if you don't want to make it in showcast, but that's one of the most popular rigs that I do in there and selling wise, because it is really, really good. Good for your garfish as well, your mackerel, your scad, and obviously you've seen then picking up a bream. Really, really good rig. Really good. But yeah, it's nice now. It's fishable now. The weed there's a little bit of weed still in there, but most of it has moved off. It's allowing now obviously the bream to feed. My distance rod now, I'm going to swap that up a bit. I'm going to put a bit of crab in there and a bit of ragworm tip with a bit of squid, see what I can get out a little bit further, edge my bets, and see if the weed is still out there. But it's nice now the bream come on the feed. Just looking down the beach, a gentleman was about 200 yards down. He's just had one. So at least the bream's coming on the feed now. So that's my plan of attack now, is that one back out there. Because the other bream came on the top hook on a pop-up. So the bream are up in the water. Which is good then, I can fish above that weed, because that weed was a right nuisance earlier on. I've got about an hour's left of fishing, because as I spoke, I'm going out for a meal tonight with the family. So hopefully we can get a bigger bream. See if I can winkle out the smooth hound. But you know, we don't want another smooth hound video, because there's a lot of them in the Solent at the moment. But yeah, at least we got into the target species. And as you can see now, the different types of rigs. Obviously, when I first started, there was so much weed in the bottom catching all it. Then I moved up into suspending the baits above the weed, and then I got into the bream. So brilliant, man, brilliant fishing. Hopefully now I can get into a nice 2-pound bream. Would be nice, because you do get them off here. Or a nice garfish or something different from my Tron Exposed species. And yeah, we've gone through a selection of rigs now. We fought through the weed, and we managed to get some fish for you. Yeah, we've seen the bream pop-up rig now, and what I'll do is I'll quickly now bait it up for you. So as I always speak about, don't have a massive bait on your pop-up, because it's just ineffective. So what I've done here is now I've cut tiny pieces of squid, like so, nice and thin, small. And because I'm not casting it far, and this is locally caught squid which I've caught, you can see how tough it is. Take a little bit of that skin off, and that's it. As you can see, that's perfect presented, and that'll pop up lovely in the water. It's not too heavy for it. And then on the other hook then, I got exactly the same. Little size 6 and the foam pop up there. Little bit of squid. Because they're not going for scent, the bream are visually seeing it. As you can see there, perfect. And the good thing is about locally caught squid, how tough it is on the hook. You can just do that. That's it. And then the bottom one in, because you're fishing hard on the bottom, I'm just going to fish it with a little bit of ragworm. And see if I can scratch out a gurnard or anything that's on the bottom. Very versatile rig. put the worm on as whatever you want. Some people use a baiting needle, some people, like me, just put it on my fingers, find it easier. Nip the tail off, and then we got it in, just a lovely little bit of worm in the bottom, and like we spoke about, the Shock has 5 ounce pyramid lead, and that's ready to go out now. And like I said, it just suspends it lovely through the water, because I did have one baited up, which is just a ghost rig. I've cast that out and I haven't had a touch on that, because of that, obviously all that would be laid in the bottom. So when it comes back in, I'll put that away, and I'll just be fishing in pop-ups and the Bream pop-up. Yeah, I've got 1 hour left, so hopefully I can catch a bigger Bream, or I can get into a nice smooth hound or something else, something different for you, or a gurnard. We keep trying now, but at least that weed has gone. That was emotional, man. But you know, sometimes you gotta fish through it, and then obviously you get the rewards. But that was difficult. I was in 2 minds of just calling it, but then I thought, give it an hour now, and after speaking to Chris, give me a bit more encouragement. But yeah, you gotta love fishing. Oh, I was just on the phone to Danny, and I had a cracking bite on the pop-up one again. I was just on the phone to Danny Panther, and he was like, what's the weed like? I said, it was horrendous earlier on. And I looked up, and my rod was just bent over. Managed to put the camera on. Oh, that's a better Bream. That's a much better Bream, that is. On that pop-up one again, on the top hook, so the Bream are right up in here. That's a cracking Bream, that is. Oh, well made up with that perseverance, look. There we have it, that's a right fat little monkey. As you can see, on that pop-up one which we talked about, is taking the top hook, so they are feeding, I'd say about 6 foot up in the air. Away from the weed, because the other ones haven't took. But yeah, that's a right little chunky monkey. Cracking little Bream, that one is. Oh, well made up with that. I got about 30 minutes to go now, and I'm going to have to pack up. But yeah, it just proves a point. You know, when you're Bream and not feeding on the bottom at all because there's a weed coming through, you know, these pop-up rigs are fantastic. And he's taking that, and that's right on the top one, if you can see it. Let me bend it down. As you can see there's the pop-up, look, and he's taking the top one. So that is a good six foot up in the air, floating. And he's come up and took it. But I'm going to get him a bit quickly slip back now, because I got 30 minutes now to see if I can get another fish now. But yeah, that's all right. Probably keep that one if you wanted to, but as you know, I don't eat fish. But I'm going to get him quickly back and get another bait in the water quickly. Oh, you just see me catching that Bream in, and what I was doing, I'll show you around in a minute. I put a whole crab out at distance just to see if I could get a smooth hound, and obviously I had a few little taps, didn't think anything of it, and then obviously it bent round, my drag was going, you could tell it was weed, so I wound it in. Look at that, I wound it in, all that weed, and a lovely little Bream in it, and a 3-0, that's mad, isn't it, and a double crab. That's a lovely coloured Bream, that is. But it's hard now, the weeds picked up again. I'm going to make these my last casts now. I'm going to get him back in. I've got a massive clump of weed on my shock leader knot there. But yeah, lovely to finish off. But you know, it's been hard work with all the weed, but we persevered and we got a few. Beautiful one, that is. A really good condition, fat little monkey. But I'll get this one back now. And these are going to be my last cast, and I'll get back to you for an extra, because I got to get back. My wife just messaged me now and asked where I was. Well, that's me done now. The weed is starting to come back through again. As you can see, I just brought a load of it in, so I think it's time to go anyway. And time I pack up now and walk back to the car, because I'm up by the elbow. It's about a 20-minute walk back down. But yeah, you know, it's been thoroughly enjoyable and well rewarding. We stuck at it through the weed, persevered, and we had a good couple of Bream and that. And it was enjoyable, and I think that's the sense of achievement and rewarding. But one good thing to take out of it, you know, all the Bream, as you see, took quite a way off the bottom, So if you are coming out bream fishing, always, you know, try and make one of those pop-up rigs, or go to Graham's shop and get them. But if you want to make them yourself, because they are really worth having in your armour when you go fishing, look back on my channel. I put the link in the description and I show you how to make it completely. Because I tell you, if I didn't have that rigged, I wouldn't have caught those bream, because they were sitting, like I said, about 6 foot up in the air. The bream were, because I think all the weed was on the bottom and they were feeding up there. But yeah, that's me done now. I've only got one rod to pack away. I'm going to drop my beach buddy and then make my way back. Hey, but thank you very much everyone for watching, and if I don't see you on the beach, I'll see you on the channel. Enjoy your fishing everyone.